Tom was home on leave after his first tour in Iraq. We went to the Drop-In, one of the local bars in town that was frequented by a rough crowd, bikers and truckers. Why Angie wanted to go there is still a mystery to me. Tom was there having a few beers with two army buddies that came home on leave with him. I didn't see him when we walked in. Angie and I were at a table when two unsavory guys asked us to dance. One was a big guy with short hair and a black biker jacket on, the other one was smaller with dirty, stringy dark hair. I can still see them like it happened yesterday. We told them no thanks, but they wouldn't take no for an answer. Dirty hair guy got upset and started calling us names. The bigger of the two grabbed my arm and tried to pull me out of the booth. Out of nowhere, Tom appeared and pushed the big guy off me. The big guy swung at Tom and missed, then Tom pummeled his face with his fist until the big guy went down. As he turned to face the dirty hair guy, I saw the knife slash down the lower portion of Tom's stomach, opening a large cut. To my amazement, he never showed any reaction, instead kicking the guy as his knee. I could hear the bones breaking, and he went down in a heap. 3 swift kicks to his groin ended the fight. That, Kathy, is why Tom is my favorite cousin. Who knows what could have happened if he wasn't there? I am very protective of him. I do not want anything bad to happen to him. If you hurt him, you will have me to deal with. Kathy was surprised to learn about her soon-to-be husband's violent past. He had always been kind and gentle to her. She did feel safer knowing he was a man who could protect her if he had to. Kathy assured Janice again after hearing how he protected you. I think I love him now even more. I promise you I will never hurt him, Ruth. Kathy thought that was another promise she made that she did not keep. Kathy remembered the day this box came to her office. She had received it again by FedEx Messenger on the Monday after the Saturday confrontation. It came without flowers. She thought he figured she did not deserve flowers from him anymore. She also refused to play the CD for the girl again and played it for Lisa and Rose in her car after work. Both Lisa and Rose wanted to know the meaning behind the song, as it had no card. As Kathy told the girls about his younger years, the deaths of his family, and not getting any love or acceptance until he met Kathy, now years later, she realized she did not understand the meaning of the song when she first heard it. She just thought it meant he loved her more than she loved him. She did not shed a tear when she listened to the song when she first played it in her car. Lisa and Rose said nothing to comfort her that day, they just left the car as she placed it in the CD player. The Bee Gees tune, To Love Somebody, started playing. There's a light, a certain kind of light that never shone on me. In my brain, I see your face again. I'm a man, can't you see what I am? I live and breathe for you, but what good does it do if I ain't got you, BBE? You don't know what it's like to love somebody the way I love you. Tears flowed from Kathy's eyes over her cheeks into her mouth. She could taste the bitter tears on her tongue. She knew now what the song meant. She was the light Tom wanted Kathy's love to shine on him as no love had ever been shined on him. Tom thought Kathy was that person. Kathy had stolen it from him, maybe the one thing Tom craved most in the world. Kathy wished she had it to do all over again. If she only knew then what she knew now, she would still be married to Tom. She placed the box back in the case and pulled the last white box from the case, the last white box she would ever get from him, the last white box in front of the black box she remembered all too well when she received this box. This box came on the Friday after she received the BG CD. Kathy, Lisa, and Rose were walking out of the office building where they all worked. As they were walking towards the parking lot, they heard someone yell, "Kathy, wait!" They looked in the direction of the sound and saw Tom jogging up the street. Tom was dressed in his usual, tight-fitting blue jeans, a tucked-in sky blue short-sleeve button-down, and work shoes. Kathy had admitted to herself he did look good jogging to them. Rose whispered to Kathy, "If you were mine, I don't think I could have thrown him back." Kathy gave her a disdainful look as he drew near and started walking up to them. They all could not help but notice that he had a white box in his left hand. "Hi," he said. Kathy could see him look her over, starting at her knees, slowly traveling up to her eyes, where their eyes locked for a second. Reluctantly, he tore his eyes off. Kathy turned to Rose and Lisa, he nodded in greeting, and they nodded back in acknowledgement. He turned back to Kathy and said, "You look well." "Thank you," Kathy said in return. An awkward silence followed. Finally, Tom spoke. "Kathy, I need to talk to you for a few minutes. Would that be all right?" Kathy replied, "I don't know, Tom. I have to be getting home. John will be waiting for me." "I know," he said, "this will only take a few minutes. Surely you can spare 5 minutes for an old friend." When he said old friend, and not former lover, or jilted husband, she knew he did not want to fight and decided to give him his fight 5 minutes. Tom turned to the girls and said, "I want to talk to Kathy in private. I hope you don't mind." He started walking Kathy to her car. Both Rose and Lisa followed right behind them. They both liked Tom, but at this stage, they did not know if he were capable of violence against her. After walking a few feet, he noticed that they were following along behind them. Tom turned to look at them, and a small smile crossed his face. "Okay, I guess I will have to do this in front of you." He turned to Kathy and started speaking. "Please let me finish what I have to say without interrupting me. I have to say it all, and if you say anything, I will not be able to finish, okay?" Kathy nodded. Tom began, "I know I am not a college-educated man. I don't speak well, it's my own fault, and I know that I have never been able to express my feelings openly. I suppose I did not tell you I loved you often enough or how much you mean or meant to me. I tried to rely on the songs and the meanings and the lyrics to let you know how much I loved, even needed you. Obviously, I failed miserably. I loved you more than you will ever know. I was so happy with our lives together. I guess my happiness blinded me to your unhappiness. I am truly sorry I could not see it and did nothing to make it better. I want you to have this." He handed her the box. "It will be my last gift to you. Its meaning is as much for you as it is for me. If you don't respond to the song, I will not bother you again. I will never come here to your work or your new home. If I see you on the street, it will be strictly by accident, I assure you. If your car breaks down, you can bring it in for repairs." With a little smile, he said, "Of course, this time, I will charge you." Kathy, remembering their first meeting, smiled also. "Well, I guess that's all I wanted to say." He started to turn away, then turned back. "There is one more thing. I want to thank you. We had 3 great years together, the 3 best years of my life, actually, and I will always remember them and think of you fondly." Finally, Tom turned and spoke to Rose and Lisa. "Ladies, you showed me something today with your courage and loyalty. I am glad Kathy has friends such as you. I know you will look out for her. I am just surprised that you would think so badly of me. Did you really think I would do anything to?" And with the word "hurt," Tom's voice cracked, and he took a second to recover. He continued, "That I would do anything to hurt her. Since this will probably be the last time we ever see each other, this will really be our goodbye. I wish you both the best, that you find whatever it is that you are seeking in life, and that when you find it, you both get to keep it." Tom's voice cracked again on the word keep, but he was able to continue speaking without stopping. By this time, Rose was openly crying and gave Tom a big hug. When she did so, Tom whispered in her ear, "If anyone tries to hurt or bother Kathy, will you let me know?" When they broke the hug, Rose, crying and smiling at the same time, shook her head yes, indicating she would let him know. He then hugged Lisa goodbye and asked her the same question. She whispered, "I will." Tom turned and walked away, never once looking back at the girls. He knew he couldn't, they would see the tears in his eyes. The girls watched Kathy's husband walk away. Rose turned to Kathy and said, "If you let him walk away after that, John had better be worth it." Lisa just shook her head. The few times she met John, Lisa thought him a complete jerk. Lisa tried hard, but she could not see what Kathy saw. She thought Kathy was making a mistake and one time told her so. Kathy got so upset, it almost ruined their friendship. Lisa did not say much about it after that. Once again, the 3 of them got into Kathy's car to listen to the CD. Once again, there was no card or note to go with the CD. Kathy took the CD in her hand and hesitated before putting it in the player. Kathy looked to Rose, then Lisa, and asked, "Should I listen to it?" Lisa said, "Whatever you want. I'm not going to get in the middle of this." It was Rose who spoke up. After the way he exposed his innermost feelings, you have to listen to the song. You owe him at least that much. Kathy thought it over, and her curiosity got the better of her, and she slipped it into the slot on the player. The sounds of the Beatles singing "This Boy" softly came out of the speakers. Tom felt it summed up the situation perfectly. Someone stole his wife, Kathy, from him. John undoubtedly wanted her but did not love her like Tom loved Kathy. Even though Kathy hurt him badly, Tom would still take her back. He wanted her to know that even though Tom was wronged, he loved Kathy and would endure any amount of pain to get the woman he loved back. Tom was also sure that John would hurt Kathy in the long run. He had met his kind before. John was a user. He would use Kathy for sex, then dump her when he was through with her. Kathy listened to the haunting lyrics of the song and realized that Tom and the Beatles were prophets. "That boy took my love away, he'll regret it someday. That boy isn't good for you, though he may want you, too. This boy wants you back again. This boy wouldn't mind the pain. Would always feel the same if this boy gets you back again." She realized it in the end and did regret it. John was not good for her and made her cry in the car that day. Kathy did not understand or believe the words sung by the Beatles. Tom's reliance on the songs to convey his feeling once again did not achieve his goal. Kathy did not contact Tom as she placed the Beatles recording back into its place in the line. She was reminded that she had heard those words spoken to her by Tom before, ashamed that she had forgotten. She reached into the case of boxes. Her fingers trembled as she reached into the case. They settled on the first white box. Kathy closed her eyes as shame washed over her face. He had told her what he was doing with the very first box he gave her. She thought back to the day she received it. Kathy and Lisa were on their way to the mall. It was a Sunday morning. Tom was taking Kathy on a picnic that afternoon. Kathy wanted to buy some new clothes. Kathy was driving when Lisa asked her the question, "So, how is it going with your mechanic?" Kathy snapped, "He is not just a mechanic, he owns his own business, you know that." "Calm down, I was just joking with you." "So, what is going on with you two?" asked Lisa. "He loves me, I know that much," Kathy answered. "And you know this how?" inquired Lisa. Kathy responded, "I can tell by the way his smile lights up his face whenever he sees me. My car has never run so good, he has me bring it in all the time and has his guys work on it. I think there is nothing wrong with it, he wants to see me. He always has lunch waiting for me when I get there. God help someone if they hit on me while he is around. I have broken up 2 pissing matches already. He takes me places, treats me good, and is very protective. He loves me, all right, I just know it. He just hasn't said it to me yet." "Why not? What is holding him back?" asked Lisa. Kathy stopped at a light and explained, "Well, I think he might be waiting for me to make the first move. He is really a shy guy around women," replied Kathy. Lisa looked at Kathy and asked her, "What about you? Do you love him?" "Truthfully, I'm not sure. I think I do, but I am just not sure," replied Kathy. "Not sure won't work with a guy like Tom. You have to be in love with the man before you can say you love him. So, tell me the truth. Do you love him?" asked Lisa. It took a while before Kathy answered, "It's been so long since I felt something like love for any man, not since John." Lisa had enough of John Williams and now told Kathy, "So, I don't want to hear any more about JN. He screwed you over, he left and never came back, not even a phone call or email. JN may have had lust for you, but not love. If he loved you, he would be here with you. You have a guy who you think loves you, and he is right here. He won't tell you he loves you, maybe he can sense you don't love him enough and he doesn't want to commit. If you want to keep him, you better make up your mind real quick or you will lose him," Lisa exclaimed. "If you let him go, you will be sorry you're losing Tom than John Williams," Lisa muttered under her breath. Kathy thought about what Lisa had told her. She thought she loved Tom but still could not get John out of her mind. Still, she did not want to lose Tom. She knew there was no one better out there for her, and she could do a lot worse. Kathy took her time getting ready for today's date. It was a picnic in River Park, so named for the river that ran through it. She wore a pair of cut-off short jeans and a red checkered shirt tied below her ribs, showing her midriff since it was Florida. Wearing a pair of flip-flops is always acceptable. They had a great day at the park. Tom brought some good food, 2 bottles of wine, and 1 blanket for both of them to sit on. After the day was done, the happy couple returned to Kathy's apartment. Tom told Kathy, "Sorry, sweetie, but I have to leave early tonight." "Why so soon?" Kathy whined. "We just got here, we can have more wine, sit, and talk." "What do you say?" "I can't tonight," Tom complained unhappily. "I have a meeting with a representative from Avis to provide roadside assistance to vehicles in this area. It could be a revenue stream for my business and maybe someday our business, babe. I have to be ready, I need my wits about me. Tomorrow, there are too many numbers to remember." "I'm sorry, babe, but I have to go." Kathy was sad but resigned. "I know you have to go, honey. Call me tomorrow when the meeting is over," she asked. He walked to her and gave her a kiss. "You can count on it," he replied huskily. After he left, Kathy changed into something more comfortable, a t-shirt and sweatpants. As Kathy lounged watching TV, she was taken by surprise to hear the doorbell ring. Peering out through the peephole, she saw Tom standing there and threw open the door, letting him. She was pleasantly surprised. "Did you forget something?" she asked breathlessly. "Yes, and it is you," he replied. Once again, he gathered her in his arms and kissed her. He took a step back, and for the first time, Kathy saw a thin white box. Tom held it in front of him so Kathy could see it. "Tomorrow, I will be meeting with a powerful representative of a potential business partner. I will be able to speak to him as an equal, tell him what I think, and listen to his responses with no trouble. With you, however, I have more of a problem. Kathy, for some reason, I can't express myself as verbally as I want to," Tom stammered. He then handed her the box and said, "I hope this tells you how I feel about you." "Call me anytime," he gulped. Kathy took the box as Tom walked out of the apartment. Kathy was confused by his actions. She went to the window and watched him drive away before opening the box. Inside, there was a CD and a note. Kathy remembered that night as if it was yesterday. She placed the CD in the player and read the note again, as she did that night. A Randy Travis song played on the player. "When you meet the certain someone you've been searching hard to find, in the time we spent together, I have learned to trust in you. It completes a perfect union between a woman and a man. So please don't misunderstand me, I don't want to go too far without knowing. Just one answer, can I trust you with my heart?" The only thing written on the note was the line, "Can I trust you with my heart?" That night, Kathy thought for a minute and then called Tom on her cell. When he answered, "Hello," all she said was, "Yes." Tom asked her, "What?" Kathy answered, "You can trust me with your heart." "I'll be right back," Tom shouted through the phone. Kathy was waiting in the hall as Tom ran up the stairs. He picked her up in his arms and carried her into the apartment, kicking the door shut with his foot. His voice trembled as he told her, "I love you, Kathy. I love you like I have never loved another person on this earth." "I feel the same about you, Tom," she said. They made love for the first time that night. In his excitement, Tom never noticed that Kathy did not actually say the words "I love you too." Kathy cried when she thought of that night. She now realized too late that she did love him too. Maybe she loved him the first time she saw him in the repair shop. Now it was all too late. Kathy put the white box away and pulled out the black box. She thought about the events that led up to her receiving the black box. It had been 3 weeks since she had spoken with Tom in front of her work. True to his word, Kathy had not seen or heard from him since. On a Friday morning, John was about to leave for work when he asked Kathy, "Do you want to go out to eat after work this evening?" How about Kelly's Downtown, he suggested. Kathy knew that was a place that she and Tom went often. No, Kathy snapped. You know Tom and I went there often. I won't go any place where I might run into him. If not there, I heard about a new bar and grill that opened up a few blocks from where you work. I can drive you to work and then pick you up at 5. I'll wait for you outside the office. What do you think? JN asked. Kathy thought about that and joked, that sounds like a plan. John was waiting for her and drove her to the new place called the Eastern Avenue Pub, obviously named after the street it was located on. Kathy was puzzled when she saw the look of disdain on the faces of the waitress and bartender when they walked in. They sat in a booth on the rear wall in the back. The waitress came and gave menus and water to them. Soon she was back to take their drink order. As the waitress was taking their order, Kathy heard the door to the pub open. She took a look to see who it was and was shocked to see her former husband walk in and take a seat at the bar. She heard him order his customary gin and tonic. She glared at JN and asked him, "Did you know he would be here?" John gave her a smirk, replying, "No, of course not, Kay." Kathy knew right away he was lying but had no idea what to do. Before she could say anything else, John announced to her, "I have to go to the restroom," got up from his chair, and started to walk to the bar. He asked the bartender where the restroom was, and the bartender pointed to the large sign that clearly said restrooms. John then said, Hey buddy, I did not see you sitting there." Kathy knew that was a lie also. She had pointed Tom out to him. Tom just looked at him and turned back to his drink and took a sip. John walked to where Tom was sitting and put his hand on the back of Tom's chair and smirked, "Don't feel so bad, she picked the best man and it wasn't you." Tom looked at him as John looked at Kathy with a large smile on his face. Tom looked over his shoulder and saw Kathy sitting there watching. Tom turned back to JN and said, "Yeah, she picked you." John laughed, patted Tom on the back, and said, "That's right, she picked me, not you," and walked off to the restroom. Kathy was horrified at what she had just witnessed. She knew Tom did not deserve that. She could not tear her eyes away from her former husband as he put the drink to his lips and finished his drink in one gulp. He went to pay, and the bartender said it was on the house. Tom got off his chair and walked directly to Kathy. "That was low, Kathy, even for you. Did you get a kick out of seeing me humiliated? I told you I would never bother you again, and I haven't. Now I get this? You two are made for each other," he told Kathy with a look of disgust. Kathy told Tom, "I knew nothing about this, you have to believe me. I did not know you would be here or he would do this. After what you did to me, why would I believe you now?" "I don't trust you, I don't like him," Tom snapped. John walked up to the table and sneered, "Are you still here?" Tom turned to John and just stared at him. She could see her soon-to-be ex-husband's hand curl up into a fist. Kathy's mind wandered back to a time when they were a happily married couple. Kathy and Tom were play-fighting one night, and she hit him with her fist. He stopped her and told her not to tuck her thumb inside her fingers. He explained her thumb could break if she hit anyone hard. She watched as his thumb curled under his fist between the first and second knuckles of his left hand, just the way he taught her to. They stood there toe-to-toe, and Kathy thought she saw fear in John's eyes. The waitress walked over with Kathy's Cosmo and John's beer and said, "This isn't the place for this." Tom, without taking his eyes off JN, said, "Amanda, you are probably right." Tom backed away from John, not turning until he got a safe distance, then turned and walked out of the pub. She did not know it then, but he walked out of her life that night as well. JN followed Tom to the entrance and watched him leave. Amanda put the drinks on the table and said to her with disdain dripping from her voice, "So, you dumped Tom for that? Do you know this is the third time he has done that to Tom?" She walked away shaking her head. When John came back to the table, he was noticeably upset. "What did he talk to you about?" he demanded. Kathy was furious, but before she could say anything to John, a man walked up to the table. "I don't know if you remember me, but I was at your wedding to Tom," Kathy replied. "I'm sorry, but I do not remember you." I am Tom's friend Paul. I was there with my wife Phyllis. I gave Tom something during the meal, Kathy remembered. He, along with two other friends of Tom's, came up to the door as we were eating the fruit salad and put their cherries in Tom's cup, saying at least now he would have a cherry tonight. Everyone had a good laugh at Tom's expense. Kathy laughed. I remember the cherries. How are you, Paul? Then he turned to John and said, I am the owner of this establishment. Tonight's meal is on the house. When you are finished with your meal, I want you to leave immediately. Neither one of you is welcome back. Kathy's face turned a deep crimson with embarrassment. John just laughed. Paul continued, I have a word of warning for you, looking directly at John. Tom would not do anything to cause trouble in my place. However, if you should see him again anyplace else, you should run the other way. He will not be so charitable again. John sneered and commented, I am not afraid of him. Don't say you weren't warned, Paul replied and started to walk away. Then he turned, smiled, and said, I just hope I am there to see it. Kathy ate her food in silence. She was furious with John. She knew this was a setup to humiliate Tom. The food was delicious, and she was sad she could not come back here again. She remembered talking to Paul and his wife. She liked them immediately. She would have liked to reconnect with him after John's stunt. She knew that could not happen. To make matters worse, he did not leave a tip that night. Kathy and John had their first serious fight. John was just being John. He was mad. He could not understand why she would side with that wimp. John was just making sure her ex-husband knew who Kathy belonged to. He was staking his claim. He was telling Tom to stay away, even though he was having doubts he could keep him away. At this point, Kathy was convinced John could not if Tom wanted to. With a mixture of sadness and relief, she no longer thought he was interested. The sadness was the knowledge that part of her life was definitely over, relief that there would be no violence. As she remembered, tears fell from her eyes. The pain he felt, she was feeling now. Her memories were becoming very painful for her. Somehow, she felt she had to continue going through the boxes until she hit the last red box. 1 week later, Kathy was at work when she heard the door to the agency open. Kathy looked up to see who it was, and to her shock, it was Tom's cousin, Janice, the one she told that she loved Tom and would never hurt him. Janice looked very professional. She wore a grey pinstripe business suit skirt with a jacket and a white shirt. She strolled up to Kathy with a pissed-off look on her face. She carried an attached case in her left hand. You don't keep your promises very well, do you, Kathy? She hissed. I am sorry, Janice. I didn't mean for this to happen, it just did, Kathy explained. Janice looked at the nameplate on her desk and picked it up. Is this you? Are you still Kathy Holden? Kathy replied, Yes, I am. Good, said Janice. She put her attached case on her desk and pulled out a white folder and threw it on her desk. You have been served, Janice said with obvious disdain. Then she pulled out the black box and, as she threw it on top of the folder, she said in a loud voice, You stupid, cheating 304, you hurt him bad. He is way too good for you, you know that, don't you? His heart is broken. Don't you worry, he'll find someone else to mend his heart. I know one day you will be dragging your sorry ass back to him. He would probably take you back too. That's why I hope he will already have found someone else to take your place. Oh, by the way, you should listen to the CD I did. It's beautiful. My cousin was always too good for you. Janice yelled. Janice turned to walk away when Kathy heard someone yell, Wait. She saw Grace get up and walk to Janice. Grace stood with her back to Kathy, facing Janice. They spoke for a few seconds, and Janice shook her head yes. She saw Grace hand something to Janice. Janice looked at Kathy as a smile came over her face. She turned back to Grace, smiled again, and shook her head yes again. Janice turned to walk out the door, and Kathy could hear her laughing. Grace walked back to her desk, and Kathy thought she could see a smile on her face also. Kathy opened the box and took out the CD. There was no card this time, and this time only Rose and Lisa came to listen to the CD. Lisa asked, "Do you want to play it now or wait until after work in the car?" Kathy said, "Janice said it was beautiful, why not play it now?" She put the CD into the player on her desk, and a Garth Brooks song played. It was the dance, and it was beautiful. Looking back on the memory of the dance we shared beneath the stars above, for a moment, all the world was right. How could I have known that you'd ever say goodbye? Holding you, I held everything. For a moment, wasn't I the king? If I'd only known how the king would fall, hey, who's to say? You know, I might have changed it all. And now I'm glad I didn't know the way it all would end, the way it all would go. I could have missed the pain, but I'd have had to miss the dance. Rose and Lisa were openly crying now, even though Kathy wasn't. There were many pairs of misty eyes in the office. Most of the women liked Tom. Here he was, saying all the pain was worth it just to have had the time with her. Kathy did not understand it then. Kathy understood exactly what he was saying with the song this time. It hurt to go through it, but the pain was worth what he had. Why couldn't she see it when it all happened? Kat put the CD back into its box and placed it into the case. She would only see Tom one more time. It was after the divorce was final. She took the papers to her lawyer. It was a 50-50 split on everything except his business. Tom would not give her any of his business. She did not care. She was going to be a doctor's wife. Let him keep his business. She signed the papers. John and Kathy were married 1 month after the 6-month waiting period was over. John's practice was doing well. JN had hired 2 nurses, a receptionist, and a biller. Kathy and John had sold the apartment and purchased a nice home in the same neighborhood as Tom's Kensington Street home, just a few blocks away. As John's practice grew, he started to work some late nights. Kathy was not happy, but she realized his patients came first after all. As John told her, "I took the Hippocratic oath. I have patients to treat. Plus," he chuckled, "they pay the bills." One Friday night, John's receptionist called to tell Kathy that the doctor was running late and had more patients to see before he could leave for the night. Kathy was disappointed. She had made chicken cacciatore with spaghetti for John's dinner that night. She decided to be the good wife, like the TV show, and pack his dinner and bring it to the office so he could have something good to eat. She drove to the office and was surprised to see only 2 cars in the parking lot. One was John's, and she did not recognize the other one. She got out of her car, took the cacciatore, and went to the door of the office. To her surprise, the door was locked. No problem, after all, she had her own key. She dribbled the food in one hand as she dug into her purse to feel for her keys. Finally, she found them and let herself in. She was about to call out when she heard noises from one of the examination rooms that made her heart drop. What she heard was not doctor-patient conversation, it was the sounds of 2 people making love. She turned the knob on the door and pushed it open. Kathy could not believe the scene in the room. An older, obviously bleached blonde was lying on the examination table. John was naked and standing at the end of the table, his hips moving back and forth, obviously having sex with that woman. Neither of them had heard her come in. Kathy screamed, "What is going on here?" With that, she threw the cacciatore at the copulating couple. The food flew all over both of them. The chicken fell between the woman's naked body, and the spaghetti and sauce were on both of them. Kathy slammed the door shut and ran from the office, started her car, and started laughing at the spectacle of John and his new bimbo covered in sauce. Then, another thought crept into her consciousness. Chicken cacciatore and spaghetti was the first meal she had served to Tom. Kathy started her car and sped away. She didn't know what to do, she did not want to go right home. She called her friend Lisa's cell phone. Lisa was out with the rest of the girls that worked at the insurance agency for a girls' night out. Kathy told her she had a fight with John and needed someone to talk to. Lisa told her that Rose was the only one left, and they were at the E Avenue public. Kathy suggested they meet and talk outside the pub. The women said, "We will meet you outside." Kathy said, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Lisa warned, "There is one more thing you need to know. Tom is here with a girl." Kathy stammered, "I don't care, I need to talk to you girls tonight, okay?" "Kathy, we will be waiting," Lisa responded. Kathy thought about Tom. What she saw was the same thing he had seen in his own home that awful night. She now knew firsthand the pain and humiliation he must have felt. She was going to her best friends for comfort and support. She realized that when she betrayed Tom, he was his best friend. Who did he have to go to for comfort and support? She knew the answer: nobody. He had to bear the pain on his own. Kathy opened the door to her car to let Lisa and Rose in. Kathy was still sobbing softly when they entered the car. Immediately, Lisa wanted to know what happened. Kathy could hardly speak. When she calmed down, she recounted what she saw. "I saw some 40-year-old bleached blonde with huge fake tits on an examination table being serviced by my new husband," Kathy roared. Neither Lisa nor Rose was surprised at Kathy's revelation. Both girls considered John a jerk. They were more surprised it had taken Kathy so long to see it for herself. They tried to support her but were not willing to give her a pass. Rose told her, "What goes around comes around." I know, Kathy cried. "I did the same thing, don't think I haven't thought of that already. I feel betrayed and humiliated by what John has done, what he has done to me. I never felt that way about what I did to Tom. Now I know the truth, now I know the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal, the loss of something you thought was special, to know the one you love thought so little of it. I know now I know." Lisa and Rose glanced at each other, and by mutual unspoken consent, they did not beat up on Kathy anymore. She was doing a good job on her own. Rose asked Kathy, "What are you going to do now?" Kathy responded, "I don't know, I am so confused." Then, after a few moments, she made a quick decision. "I am going home to confront John. What he did is unacceptable and will have to stop," she spat decisively. Lisa asked, "Do you want us to go with you?" Kathy replied, "No, I have to do this by myself." The girls got out of the car and watched Kathy drive off. They walked back into the pub, and as they walked to the bar, Tom was there ordering drinks and saw them. A huge smile came across his face. "Rose, Lisa, so good to see you. How long has it been?" "Almost a year?" He gave them each a hug. Neither Rose nor Lisa smiled and only gave him a slight hug in return. Tom, recognizing that their response was less than friendly, moved back. "I'm sorry," he apologized. "I didn't realize it was like that. I'll be going." Tom stepped away puzzled. He thought the last time they were together, he left on a positive note. Then again, he thought, they are Kathy's friends, so why be friendly to me? Lisa realized the sudden change in his attitude first and called Tom back. "Wait, it is not what you think. Please come back, we need to talk to you." Lisa and Rose wanted to take Tom to the booth and talk to him. At first, he said he would have to clear that with his dinner companion. He walked to his date and spoke with her. She looked over at Lisa and Rose and spoke briefly with him again. Finally, she smiled at him and shook her head yes. Tom walked back to Lisa and Rose's table and sat down. "What is this all about? Why are you guys giving me the cold shoulder?" he asked, confused. He waited for their answer. Rose responded, "It has nothing to do with you, we just received bad news tonight." "My God, I never thought of that. Is there anything I can do to help?" Tom inquired. Lisa responded, "There probably is, but I don't think you would want to." "What? What are you talking about?" Tom inquired. Tom had been leaning forward, his arms on the table, fully involved. Lisa said, "It has to do with Kathy." Tom pushed back from the table to the back of the seat as if he just heard the rattle of a rattlesnake. His manner changed instantly. "What does she have to do with this?" Tom asked wearily. "She just caught John cheating tonight," Lisa blurted. His face said it all. First, it went totally blank, then a small smile, going to a huge smile, to an outright belly laugh. When he finished laughing, he leaned forward with his head down, shaking it back and forth, and said, "Karma, karma is a." Then he looked at the women and asked, still chuckling, "Why are you telling me this? What does it have to do with me?" "Nothing," Rose said. "We just wanted you to know why we were down tonight." Tom's attitude changed once again. "Sorry, girls, I jumped to a wrong conclusion, I should have known better." "So where is she now?" he asked. Lisa replied, "She went home to confront him." "That is definitely not a good idea. John's a coward, but he won't hesitate to hurt a defenseless woman if he becomes angry," Tom stated. Anger flashed in Rose's eyes. "If he is the coward, why didn't you fight for her when you had the chance?" she asked smugly. Tom once again sat back in his seat, but without the revulsion this time. Finally, he leaned back into the girls with a profound sadness on his face. "I asked her if she loved him, she told me she did. She told me she did not love me anymore. What was there left to fight for? If I beat him up, would that make her love me once more? No, she would have hated me. So where was the sense? I was in a lose-lose situation, she still would not love me, and I could go to jail. Do you understand my reasoning now, Rose?" Tom asked. Rose nodded her head yes, now ashamed she even asked the question. Lisa asked, "So what are you going to do?" Tom was unmoved. He remarked, "Me? I'm not doing a damn thing. She is no longer my problem." "You can't mean that, you loved her once," reminded Lisa. "That was a long time ago, things and people change," Tom countered. "Rose, I have known you for 5 years now. I have spoken to Paul about you." Surprised? Don't be. You are highly thought of here. I have overheard stories told about you by your friends here in this bar. You have lots of friends, don't you? Even when you had a falling out with one of them, if they needed something, you still helped out. Kathy was your best friend even though she hurt you badly. You would still not desert her. Maybe it was the way you were brought up or maybe your military background, but you don't let people down. You don't change, Tom Holden, not you, Rose responded, holding Tom's eyes while she spoke. Now he held her eyes as he spoke. "Rose, this is a family matter. This is something that should be settled in the courts. Frankly, this is a problem that I have no way of helping. Somehow, I feel that this is her just reward, chickens coming home to roost, if you get my drift. If she ever really needs me in a way I can be of help, you can count on me to do my part. What I said to both of you that day in the parking lot still stands. If anyone hurts her or tries to hurt her, I expect you to let me know. This does not fall into that category. He hurt her, but no less than she hurt me. Bottom line, ladies, I will not get involved in her family dispute. Maybe they will be able to get past this, maybe she will fight for this marriage unlike what she did to me, maybe he will realize his mistake and not do it again, maybe she will forgive him. I don't know, but it is not my place to butt in here, not now," Tom insisted. An uncomfortable silence ensued. Tom broke the silence first, remarking, "Ladies, it would have been nice to see you under different circumstances. I hope if I do see you again, we can have a few drinks and some laughs. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a date to get back to." Tom left the booth. As he started to walk away, he turned back and confirmed, "Remember, if anything bad should happen, please let me know." Both girls nodded in return. They watched him return to the table and sit down. His date said something, and he started talking. There came a point in the conversation that he started smiling and chuckling. When the girl put her fork down and was obviously berating him, Lisa and Rose knew he had told her about the cheating and started laughing at Kathy's predicament. That is when his date got mad at him. Tom put his head down and started nodding his head yes, then no, and finally, he did not know what to do, so just sat there staring at his plate. When she was done, she placed her hand on his and smiled. You could just read her lips when she said, "I understand." Tom seemed to have lost his appetite and pushed his food away. His date had time to eat while he talked to Lisa and Rose. He got the check, and they left. Lisa and Rose were left wondering how Kathy fared when she went home that night to confront John. They paid their bill and left the bar. Neither woman left with a good feeling. Kathy called in sick Monday and Tuesday. Lisa was concerned but did not want to interfere. Like Tom, she felt it was a family matter. Besides, she had been burned once before for getting involved in Kathy's affair with John. It would not happen again. On Tuesday, she called John's office, and it was open for business. The doctor was in. They obviously weren't home working on their problem. Lisa decided to call Kathy on her cell. Lisa left a message. Lisa was worried about Kathy and asked her to please return her call. Kathy did not return her call. Lisa and Rose decided to go to Kathy's home if she did not return to work on Wednesday. It was 9:05 and Lisa and Rose were deciding what to do when they saw Kathy's car pull into the parking lot. Feeling greatly relieved, they went to their desks and started working. When Kathy walked through the door, the women were horrified. The large sunglasses did nothing to hide the bruises around Kathy's left eye. The heavy makeup on her right cheek suggested more facial damage. Lisa and Rose quickly ushered Kathy into the ladies' room and locked the door. Lisa ripped the glasses off her face and gasped. Kathy's left eye was black and blue, with minor swelling around the bottom of her eye. Lisa looked closely at her cheek and she could see the palm and 5 fingers where John's open hand slapped her right cheek. Kathy was stoic, apparently, she was all cried out. Rose asked what happened, and she started crying. She was not all cried out. Kathy finally stopped and told the women what happened. John was home when she got there. He immediately yelled at her, "Where have you been? Who have you been talking to? What did you think you were doing, throwing that disgusting food at us? That was an important client." Kathy cut in, "So important you had to screw her on your examination table?" John was livid. He reared back and punched Kathy in the eye. Kathy screamed and fell to the floor. She had never felt such pain. Kathy was almost knocked out. John grabbed his wife by the hair, held her head up, and slapped Kathy across the face with his left hand. Kathy saw stars and then nothing. When Kathy woke up, John was going nuts in the house. He was breaking knickknacks and kicking furniture into the walls. When John noticed Kathy stirring, he knelt over her again and pulled Kathy up by her blouse. He thundered, "This is the way it will be from now on. If I want to work late, you will just have to put up with it. If you don't like it, you can leave, if you dare. If you give me any more problems, you will get more of what you got tonight." He screamed at her, "Do you understand?" Kathy was terrified. She cowered away from him and nodded her head yes. "Good," he ranted. "Now go upstairs and get yourself fixed up." Kathy went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face, taking a good look in the mirror. Her eye and right cheek were already swelling. She went into the kitchen. Kathy took some frozen peas out of the freezer, retreating upstairs to lie down. She placed them on her swollen face. The next morning, Kathy woke up still in the same clothes she had worn the day before. The peas had thawed out and were under her head. Kathy went to her bathroom and was surprised to see her whole face was swollen. She spent the whole day with something cold on her face to bring down the swelling. John was nowhere to be found. Kathy was relieved, she did not want to see him anyway. John did not come home until Sunday afternoon. He offered no explanation of his whereabouts, and she did not ask. That night, John wanted sex. Kathy said no, she was too hurt for sex. He just left. Again, he came home Monday to take a shower and get changed, then left for the office. The girls listened silently, first in complete shock at her tale, then getting angry at John's callousness. Lisa urged Kathy to go to the police and have him arrested for assault and battery. "No," Kathy cried. "I want to make this marriage work. I want to work things out. I already screwed up one marriage." The women exploded. "He beat you up. He did something despicable to you. Do you think this will be the last time? Yelled Rose. I know, replied Kathy. I just can't give up so quickly. Lisa fumed. I don't know what to do. I give up, and walked away. Rose walked away too, but not before she took a quick photo with her cell phone. She knew exactly what she was going to do. Rose left work half an hour early. She drove directly to Tom's shop. She parked her car in front of one of the open bays and walked towards the shop bay door. Tom was working on a 1964 Jaguar XAY. When he looked up and saw Rose pull into the lot in front of bay number 2, he picked up a rag to clean his hands and smiled as Rose got out of her car. Rose did not see him at first, as he was in the shadows of the shop at this hour of the day. As he emerged from the shadows, she took in the handsome man walking towards her. She was always impressed with his muscular body. As Tom walked confidently towards her with that big smile on his face, it made Rose think Kathy was out of her mind to give that up. Even the act of cleaning his hands with that white rag seemed sexy. Good to see you, Rose. Having car trouble? He asked. No, nothing like that. I need to speak with you in private, if that would be okay. He looked at her puzzled for a second and said, sure, come into the office. Rose followed him, where he sat behind a small, cluttered desk and indicated that she should sit on the chair opposite him. They sat in silence for a while, waiting for her to begin the conversation. Rose wasn't sure how to start, and she finally blurted out, Kathy is having problems with John. The neutral look on his face changed to anger, then disdain. Any problems in her relationship with that a-hole are no longer problems of mine. Good riddance to that 3, he could not complete the sentence. Even if he felt that she was a 304, he could not talk about Kathy like that. Wearily Tom began, Rose, I just don't care if they have problems. What does it have to do with me? Do you remember the day you met us outside work? She asked. When you gave her the box with the Beatles song inside it. Yeah, I remember. It didn't work, did it? Nothing seemed to work, not even a phone call from that witch. She ripped my heart out. So now what? I'm supposed to care what happens to her? She didn't care about me, did she? Tom ranted. Rose was taken aback by his outburst. Maybe she was wrong. He might think this was what she deserved, getting beaten up by her lover. Had the love he had for her turned to hate? Would he even care anymore? She plunged ahead, it's more than that. She pulled out her phone and scrolled to the picture she took this morning. She handed the phone to him. She tried to read his face, but there was no emotion, no inkling of what he was going on behind the mask on his face. Did you take this? He inquired. This morning, replied Rose. He looked at it for a few more seconds and handed it back to Rose. That's too bad. What do you want from me? He asked. Rose was shocked by his lack of concern. Aren't you going to do something? What about what you said to Lisa and me? You said, tell you if somebody tries to hurt her. She has been hurt, was what you told us just so much, she yelled. Call the cops, Rose. It looks like assault and battery to me. Rose was incensed. That's it? That's all you have to say? Tom responded, what do you want me to say? Do you expect me to protect her virtue? She has no virtue. She had her affair. She broke her vows. She didn't care about me. She didn't care about my pain. Give me a good reason why I should care about her pain. Just give me one reason, Rose. Just one good reason, begged Tom. She looked into his eyes, she could see the pain in them. Because you love her. I can see it on your face. Isn't that a good reason? Rose stated. Sorry, Rose, you're wrong. I loved her once, back then, but not now. The feeling I have for her is definitely not love, not anymore. Tell her to call the cops. I'm not getting involved, Tom stated flatly. Rose looked long and hard at him, finally shaking her head. She stood to leave. As she walked out of the office door, Rose turned and spoke to him, You've surprised me today. I thought better of you. I never thought you would let some man beat your wife. Abruptly, he stood for the first time today. She could see anger flash in his eyes. And that's the crux of the matter. She is not my wife. If she were, I would have to be dead before I would allow some a-hole to lay a finger on her. She chose that a-hole over me. I was her husband, yet she picked him over me. I guess she wanted to trade up, be a doctor's wife, not the wife of a mechanic. She made her bed, let her lie in it, and agonized. Tom roared. Rose replied, I'm sorry, Tom. I did not realize how you felt. Not that I blame you, she must have hurt you deeply. Rose commiserated, tell her to call the authorities, Rose. Tell her to get a divorce, she already knows how to do that. Sorry if I disappointed you today, Rose, but I just can't, he replied. Rose walked through the doorway and out of the shop. Tom followed after her. He stood in the middle of the bay, watching her as Rose opened her car door. She apologized to him, saying sadly, I'm sorry to have bothered you today. I hope I didn't ruin your evening. He did not reply. Before starting her car, Rose looked through the windshield into his face. The expression on his face was hard to read, pain, anger, disdain, hatred. Rose couldn't tell which. Maybe it was a mixture of all those emotions. Whatever his emotions were, he decided not to help. Rose started her car and drove away. Kathy, you really screwed it up, she thought as she drove away. She had failed. The day when she was so sure Tom would help. As Rose drove away, she had no idea how to help her anymore. Kathy came to work Thursday and Friday. There were no bruises that could be seen, but she was definitely becoming more and more rattled. The girls did not know about any physical violence, but they were sure she was being sexually abused. Monday morning brought a change in Kathy, everybody could see it. Since when she walked in the door to work, she said hi to everyone and even smiled, something Kathy had not done in a while. Lisa and Rose dragged Kathy to their sanctuary, the ladies' restroom, and locked the door. What's going on, Kathy? What happened? Lisa asked. JN got beat up Friday night outside his office. He got beat up really bad. Whoever did it made him promise to apologize to me. John said that the accent told him that if he did not apologize to me, he would know and come back and finish the job. Whatever that meant. John doesn't know it, but I know who it was, saying Kathy. How do you know? Rose said. I heard him talking to himself in the shower this weekend. And he was cursing out my ex-husband, Tom giggled. Kathy, how could he find out about this? Kathy asked. Rose said, it was me. I told him about it Wednesday after work. Kathy hugged Rose and thanked her. Kathy told her friends that she had made up her mind and was leaving John. She would see a lawyer tomorrow about getting a divorce. Kathy thanked Rose again for helping. Rose said, don't thank me. I didn't kick the crap out of your husband. Kathy mused, maybe you're right. I should go and thank him myself. I don't know about that, Kathy. He is not too fond of you right now. You didn't hear the way he was talking about you when I went to see him, warned Rose. I know, Rose. After what I did, he probably hates me. But I still need to thank him in person. That's the least I can do, asserted Kathy. Both women agreed. Lisa walked into the Eastern Avenue pub first, followed by Rose, with Kathy bringing up the rear. They sat at a table only a few feet away from him. Tom was sitting at the bar, immersed in thought while drinking his second gin and tonic. He never noticed them come in. Lisa gestured for Kathy to get on with it. A nervous Kathy trembled slightly and walked to her former husband. She sat on the empty seat next to him and saw the bandaged and swollen right hand. She could see that his left hand had scratches on it but was not hurt badly enough to not pick up his drink with it. He still had not realized that someone was sitting on his right, his mind must have been somewhere else that night. Kathy reached out and placed her hand tenderly over his bandaged hand and said, it must be very painful. His head never moved, but his eyes moved to his right, and he could see her. It is not too bad. It will be better in a few weeks. What do you want, Kathy? He asked in a not too friendly tone of voice. Please, implored Kathy, I just want to talk, not fight. Is that okay? He nodded his head. Kathy noticed that he had not removed her hand from his bandaged one. He did not, because he actually still craved her touch, no matter how it hurt him. Kathy began, I want to thank you for what you did on Friday. I know it was you. After all I did, you still helped me when I needed someone. I felt I had to come to thank you in person. I owe you that. She looked at his handsome profile, without a blemish from the beating he gave to JN. Kathy put her hand on his chin and turned it to her, saying, Can't you even look at me? His face was clear and unmarked. He wasn't able to hurt you at all, was he? Kathy asked. He thought you were a coward, but you knew that, didn't you? I was worried about you. I guess I shouldn't have been. I guess he was wrong about me, Tom said with a sad smile. Tom wrenched his head out of her grasp and turned back, lifted his drink to his lips, and took a swallow of the clear liquid. I am leaving him, Tom, Kathy confided. I will be moving in with Lisa until I get a place of my own. I will be getting a divorce from JN. I want to start seeing you again, if you will let me. I realized that what I did was stupid. I finally found out who my real love is, and it is you. I want desperately to recover what we had. I want you back, if you will have me. He finally turned to face Kathy, pulling his bandaged hand out from under hers as he moved. You wanted to thank me, he replied angrily. It really wasn't necessary. I would have done the same thing if I saw a man beating a stray dog on the street. You were worried, not likely. Were you worried that morning when you left me alone in the house to go with the a-hole? Did you care about my pain, what I was going through? No, you only care about yourself. Why do you care now? You got what you wanted. But I get it. Why be stuck with an ordinary auto mechanic when you could be a doctor's wife, isn't that it? So you used me, didn't you? All of you. You got what you wanted from me. What did I get? I get more pain. My hands hurt like hell, my girlfriend is mad enough to dump me for helping you. I might still go to jail for my actions. Tomorrow, you will have another long-lost lover in your bed, keeping you company. The only company I will have is my pain. Why don't you go, all three of you? Leave me alone. Kathy had been shaking her head no during his verbal onslaught. Looking directly into her eyes, he said, Just go. Kathy's face paled under his onslaught. She had not realized how much pain he was in. The pain was easy to see in his eyes, it was written all over his face. Before the abuse she received from JN, she never thought too much about what he went through. Now she finally understood. John had done the same thing to her as she had done to Tom. Now she understood the pain, the betrayal, and the humiliation. Yes, now I know. But what to do now? Kathy started to speak, but he silenced her with a wave from his bandaged hand. If you won't leave, then I will, he spat. He quickly slipped off the bar stool and was off in a flash, giving Rose and Lisa a disapproving look as he walked by and out the door. Kathy was visibly shaken. She looked at the women with a bewildered expression on her face. Go after him, Kathy, Lisa implored. The women ran out the door, only to see Tom drive off in his pickup truck. They went to Lisa's place to discuss what happened that night. None of them were happy with the way things had played out. Kathy took out the last of the blue boxes. She opened it, there was no note in the box. She slipped it into the player and listened as Randy Travis started singing I Told You So. As she listened to the song, she remembered. It was a Wednesday evening. Lisa and Kathy stopped by the mailbox to bring in the mail. One of the items inside was a small package addressed to Kathy from the handwriting. Kathy immediately knew what it was and who it was from, even though it had no return address. Kathy tore the brown wrapping paper off to reveal another blue box. Nothing was said as they walked to Lisa's apartment. Each woman was lost in her own thoughts, wondering what was inside the box. When inside the apartment, Lisa asked, "Kathy, are you going to listen to the CD?" Kathy shook her head yes. She could not speak without crying. Lisa took the CD and put it in her player. Randy Travis's voice filled the room. "Suppose I called you up tonight and told you that I loved you. And suppose I said I want to come back home. And suppose I cried and said I think I finally learned my lesson and I'm tired of spending all my time alone. If I told you that I realized you're all I ever wanted and it's killing me to be so far away, would you tell me that you loved me too? And would we cry together? Or would you simply laugh at me and say I told you so? Oh, I told you so. I told you someday you'd come crawling back and asking me to take you in. I told you so. But you had to go. Now I found somebody new, and you will never break my heart in two again." Kathy's heart broke again as it did that night in Lisa's apartment. Tom made it clear to her that he was done with her, he would never allow her back into his life again. For the first time in a long time, Kathy broke down into a full-blown crying check. She let it all out, all her grief came flooding out. Oh, how she missed her former husband. She knew she had been a fool to give up what she had, just as Lisa told her when this first happened. She cursed her stupidity. Kathy quit her job at the insurance company. Soon after that, she received the box in the mail from Tom. She took a position as a front desk receptionist at a local doctor's office. The pay was not as good, but she did not have to suffer through the disgusted looks and the constant whispering of her co-workers. Kathy stayed with Lisa for 3 months. She rented a small condo from an elderly patient she met at the doctor's office. Her divorce from JN was moving through the court system. She started receiving support payments from John through the court. This money, combined with her new job, was enough to pay the rent on her new place. Kathy was not idle in her quest to regain her life with Tom. She called him many times, he never answered the phone, so she left messages to call her back. He never did. That only made Kathy more determined. Kathy began sending letters to the Kensington address where Tom still lived. Emails were sent every few days. These were never answered either. Kathy and Lisa had plans to go out Friday night. It was decided that Kathy would pick Lisa up and they would get ready to go out at Kathy's new place. Kathy picked up Lisa at her home and drove to her new place. When they arrived at Kathy's apartment, they were surprised to see Tom's cousin Janice and Kathy's former co-worker Grace waiting in the parking lot. "What are they doing here?" Lisa wondered aloud. "I have no idea, but I don't like seeing Janice again." "And what is Grace doing here with her?" puzzled Kathy. Lisa had an inkling of why they would be here. She was hiding something from Kathy. The girls exited the car and wearily approached Janice and Grace. Janice waited for Kathy and Lisa to come near them before she spoke. "Hi, Kathy," began Janice. "Grace and I would like to talk to you about something that involves all of us. Would you mind if we came inside and spoke in private?" Kathy was wary. She remembered the last time she spoke with Janice. She did not want to repeat that confrontation. "What is this about, Janice?" "I don't want any trouble," Kathy responded. "Why don't you leave her alone?" "Why do you need to open old wounds?" pleaded Lisa. Grace looked at Lisa and Kathy with sympathetic eyes before responding. "I would, Lisa. However, I think Kathy needs to know about this. Please, Kathy, can we go inside and speak privately?" Grace asked. Now thoroughly confused, Kathy looked at Lisa for some type of direction. Lisa nodded at Kathy as if saying, "Let's go inside and talk with them." Kathy responded, "Let's go inside." Once inside Kathy's small condo, the girls made some small talk, complimenting Kathy on her decorating. Settling down around the kitchen table, Grace finally got around to why she and Janice were there. Grace began, "Kathy, there is something I need to tell you, and it is not going to be something you want to hear. I know you have been sending letters and emails to Tom. I know about the telephone calls too. What business is it of yours if I try to communicate with him? This is still a free country. If I want to call him, I will. He has never told me not to. If he did, I would stop, he informed Kathy. Kathy, Janice interrupted, please just listen to us. We don't want to make this harder on you. We know you don't know this. Tom and Grace are getting married next Saturday. Kathy was shocked. Janice could see her eyes tear up. If she wanted to speak, it seemed she was unable to. Kathy, please don't call, email, or send letters to Tom. I am a jealous woman, and I will not look kindly upon another woman trying to contact my new husband. It's too bad you never knew the real meaning of a gift. It's lucky for me, though. I realized what it was the first time I heard when I fall in love on your CD player that day in the office, added Grace. Janice retrieved a little red container from her purse and presented it to Kathy. Listen to the CD inside the box. I am truly sorry it came to this. We want you to know that we did not come here to hurt you. You needed to know, Janice informed Kathy, her voice betraying no malice. As Janice and Grace departed from the condo, Kathy spoke to Lisa and said, "Were you aware of this?" Lisa admitted with a hint of shame, "I didn't know how to tell you. Grace told us a few weeks ago. I knew you were trying to get back with Tom. I knew it would hurt you. I couldn't tell you. I knew it would hurt you too much." Kathy carefully placed the CD into her computer's slot. Looking at the time, Kathy took another drink of wine. 2.5 hours had passed. It had only taken her 1.5 hours to relive the journey with her ex-husband. At the back of the row of boxes sat a red box. She reached inside, removed the CD, and placed it in the machine, just like the week before. Charel began singing the 1961 hit Foolish Little Girl, which had broken her ex-husband's heart and made him cry. Since then, he has been sad. Now that he has found someone new, you want him back. Naive young woman, dear young lady, you rejected him when he desired you. Now he has discovered another love, and it is she who he fantasizes about. What can you do about it? Janice was correct. Kathy could do nothing to fix the mess she had made of her life. She needed to quit blaming herself for everything that had gone wrong and start living in the present. Meanwhile, Tom and Grace might be returning from the altar as a married couple, or perhaps they were in the reception line welcoming guests. Whatever their situation, Kathy couldn't help but feel left out. As she recalled the gift, she realized how carelessly she had discarded it, in contrast to Grace, who had grasped its significance the moment she heard "I fell in love" in the office. Grace had been saddened by how long it had taken her to comprehend. At last, she realized that it had been the most precious gift she had longed for, the gift of his love. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.